empty function, and let's say if we try to do x or temp, let's do even better. F temp stands for Fahrenheit temp is currently 212. I want to display 212 specifically to like this calculator screen. We call it the console. When we click run, nothing so much happens. If you want to print things specifically to the console, you have to use this function, console.log. I'll zoom in a bit. Console.log. And now you tell it what you want to print. Like right now, you can print in the number. If I press save and run, now on the console screen, you'll see that number. Notice that console is an option at the very bottom of your code pen. This one just displays text and numbers. Think about it like the terminal. If you saw some like interpretations of computer science and computer programming, the command line is very similar to that if you ever had to go there. It's just the bare minimum of what you need to interact with the computer. That's the console, okay? So if you click on this button, it makes it appear and disappear in CodePen. That's where we'll primarily be working. There's not going to be any ellipses or visuals. Technically, we don't even need P5.js either. So for the console, you can type like hi, and then save and run, and then that's what's going to be displayed here. Hi right after. Notice it also remember what came before it. So if we do another console.log, the classic hello world, and we click save and run, it remembers what came before. Notice it prints hi a second time after I've run it. For this third time, I see hi, and then I see hello world. You may not want that. And if you want to clear your console, you press clear up here next to the X button, and that just wipes away what came before it, in case you needed to refer to anything. Think about it like a fancy or a more primitive version of the text function you've been using in your 8-ball assignment, in Mad Libs, and all those other things. Okay? So far, so good? Now, keeping with the calculator analogy, how would we convert this Fahrenheit temperature into Celsius? You're welcome to look that up. I'll look it up right now. F2C temp formula. Okay, it has it right there. Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5/9. Okay, thank you, Google. Minus 32, in parentheses, of course, following order operations, times 5 divided by 9. Notice that this calculation right here, if I just leave it here, I think it will spit out some, does it have a mistake? Nothing will get printed to the screen. It might be doing some kind of calculation. It may not even like that line, but right now we want this to be displayed. Maybe we'll store it into this ftemp. Notice nothing gets printed to the screen except our hi and hello world. Let's see, we'll print out ftemp here. Now we should be able to see that number. 100, cool. Google, check my work. I have now 212, and it is in fact 100. Awesome. And so far, I've converted just one temperature out of this many. I may want to fix this labeling and say, like, this is the Celsius temperature. F temperature is originally 212. And now whatever I change here, F temp minus 32 times 5/9 get us my Celsius temperature. Another thing you could do to make this like a bit more informative, you can say Fahrenheit F temp, F is, and then I think, is it plus or is it comma? Let's find out. T temp, F temp, plus C temp is this thing, plus. So all this is on one line. So that makes it a bit more readable, I hope, in terms of numbers. Let's space it out. Is this, C temp is this. All right. So now we have something a bit more informative. When we click run, you see in the very last line right here, F is 212, Celsius is now 100, and it's a bit more readable to us humans. So far so good. We're doing one calculation. All of this is in the console. Next challenge is, let's say, instead of doing 212, I'm asking you, then do 100, then figure out how to convert 1, 2, 10, 400, and 15, 150, all the way up to like 124. These are the exact list of numbers I want you to do this conversion for. At the current time, maybe you'll just do something like this. We know to replace this variable, so here's my second calculation. Here's my third. Notice each time I'm changing that initial Fahrenheit temperature. I know the calculation is correct, so it doesn't matter what number this is, I'll just keep iterating through it. But you notice through this pattern, it's like repetitive, I'm like deleting things. Maybe if you wanted it to be all displayed at once, for example, if I clear it, right now I don't know what came before it. Like I have to like change this, change it to 150 and then do this conversion. That's tedious. We can do way better. So maybe at this point, you're like, okay, here's a neat one. We can put this into a function, maybe convert that, and then call my function to do this conversion. I might save some characters, but I'm not going to save any lines. This is why we have loops. We notice that repetitive behavior, that repetitive pattern in our data. So why don't we tell the computer, go ahead and repeat this for me, instead of me clicking and deleting and doing all these things. That's why we have loops. That's why we have arrays. So then, at the very beginning, we can make temps. So far, it's just like display answers. Notice this is all temperatures in Fahrenheit. So I'm going to call it temps, ftemps, I guess. Because they're all related, kind of like your answers in your 8-ball, I put them in a list, also known as array, separated by commas, and beginning and ending with these square brackets. That's how the computer knows. Ftemps is much more than just one number. It's a bunch of numbers inside. Now here comes the really new part. When we try to work with temps, right, we want to be able to change each of these numbers. We want to start one, and then we need to go to the next. And that's like the hardest part while working with these, this new idea, this list. That's why often with lists, we have this new thing called a loop. You've been working with it a lot, but not so much in this context. So far, you said, okay, it helps us repeat things, but now we want to repeat things a certain amount of times. Maybe I'll use the variable I. We'll have var I start off at 0. And then we count, we see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 whole numbers. Less than or equal to 12 right here, because I only want this to happen 12 times. Stop when you've repeated this code 12 times. So this is our starting point, the 0. Our ending point, once we've repeated this 12 times, we're going to stop. The other key idea when working with loops is, okay, I got to be able to increase. This is how I move through my loop. I equals I plus 1. Start at 0, add 1 to yourself, you're at the next thing. Add 1 again, you're at the third thing. Add 1, you're at the fourth, so on and so forth till you get up to 12. These 3 parts always happen in loops. This is how you control how many times like something repeats or when you want something to stop. Questions, comments so far? Right now we're just using the while variation. Later there is a shortcut called a for loop, but it hides some of the details, which is why we're focusing just on this while keyword. You notice it's very similar to an if too. So it draws upon that knowledge. Now at the moment, since we have ftemps up there, notice ftemp down here is just is singular. There's no s at the bottom. If I put temps down here, notice now this one change refers to this whole list. We may think, that seems like a good idea. That's what we're printing, so why don't we go ahead and change this to temps, save, and run it, and let's see what abomination gets printed. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. I'll scroll over a little bit. The blue is the comment. Let's have it be like this. So we go up, maybe we'll clear it, and then we'll run it again. Like, what happened there? Neat. Something is repeated, I think 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But notice that we got kind of more than what we asked for. F is 212, 100, 1, 2, 10. So on and so forth, and then we end at 124. Notice there, I printed everything in my lists. So that's like more than what I wanted. I just wanted one number. Then afterwards, notice where it says Celsius temperature, abbreviated Ctemp. Now we have nan. Doesn't even look like my calculation is even happening right here, the change that I did here. f temps minus 32 times 5 over 9. Notice I added the s, makes it refer to this list. Turns out the computer isn't sure what you want to do here. F temps with an s on it is more than one temperature. That's this whole list. You see it when in the second one on line 8 when I print it out. It prints out all those numbers. So that's not exactly what we want. The computer doesn't know how to read that, so we tell it, okay, we use the square brackets just like what we did up here at the beginning to make a list. To use a list or access elements of it, access certain numbers, you have to use those square brackets too. Let's say we want the first thing. We have to give it a number, like an address for a home when trying to sending a letter, when you're having a package sent to you. I want f temps, tell me what's in position 0, what's at address 0. And now when I save and run this, we only get one temperature. Ooh. And then afterwards, looks like Celsius or C temp, that number is now correct. But notice when I print it out, I see 112 times in my output. Let me clear this. I'll make it a bit better. Da-dang. Okay, C temp is 100, C temp is 100, and it happens like 12 times. Getting closer. What's one other change you'll have to do so I can just display that conversion happening with 212? What line and what part would I have to change? It's very similar to the change that I just did. Think for a second. I'll wait. You may pause the recording if you want to. So we have to make that same exact change down here. Right now we're telling it, okay, show me the whole list. But really, we just want that first thing there. We want the 0 thing. Computer scientists like to count starting at 0. We love zeros and ones. So as soon as we add that change, now we have just one number, 212. It happens to be the first number. It's at position 0. All those are mean the same thing. And we're making lots of progress. Now we see F is 212. C temp is now 100. Awesome. My loop hasn't been working just yet. I'm very close to getting there because 212 is 10 is repeated 12 times, but like we really just wanted to do all the work. Remember at the beginning, I was deleting separate lines and doing separate calculations. Notice the pattern here. It would be as I replace these ones, if I put in 1, now it converts 100 into its corresponding Celsius temperature. Yep, there it is. There's 100. 37 point that. If I do maybe the 11th position, it gets me 224. Awesome. Maybe if I ask it what's the 6th position, that happens. Okay, cool. But then my numbers are always the same. It's always that first thing that I enter, and it isn't changing. The last thing you have to think about is instead of having a number, notice the I, the thing that helps you control your loop, goes from 0 up until 11. The last replacement you'll do is inside the square brackets, have the variable I inside. And what's going on here? When you add in I, let me clear this, now I run it once more. Now it walks through every single thing inside this list. Notice it starts at 212, it does the conversion. Then it hops over here, it goes to 100, does this conversion, prints it out. Then I equals 2 now. So it goes to the third thing, or otherwise known as position 2, takes in 1, and then does this conversion. You get negative 17.22, so on and so forth. It's like marching almost through this list. And now we have 12 things that correspond to these temperatures all printed to the screen. It's very few lines of code, but this is what you're working with. Like in your 8-ball assignment, kind of, you're not going through all of them, you're just randomly selecting one. In Tron and in Etch-a-Sketch, you will be working with a while loop, but less so for the sake of counting, more so about like working with the mechanics of what's happening. If you wanted to repeat things, like drawing a background number of stars, for example, you'll see more of loops, and you'll definitely see these in your quizzes more. Cool? Questions, comments? None? All right, that's it.